Hello and welcome to Guitar Kickstart. My name is Rick Spurgeon. In this course, we will learn some of the basics to get us learning how to play guitar. In this course, we will learn how to pick out a guitar. We'll also learn about the parts of the guitar and the differences between acoustic and electric guitars. We're also going to talk about how to properly hold our guitars, and we're going to talk about tuners and how to tune our guitars. We'll begin to learn how to read chord graphs and a few easy form chords. We'll practice on changing from chord to chord, and at the end of the course, we're going to talk a little bit about metronomes. Okay, so let's get started. Well, here we are. We decided now is the time to start learning how to play guitar. But we got one problem. We don't even have a guitar yet. Well, we're here at Legit Music in Council Bluffs, Iowa to talk about some of our different options. As you can see, there are many different options. Size, color, brands, whether it be an acoustic or an electric guitar that you're looking for, new or used, and of course there's the price. Okay, budget is one of the first things that we need to deal with. I highly recommend that you go to your local music store or do some research online and find out kind of what the going rate is on guitars. You can get a decent instrument without breaking the bank, but I do warn you, sometimes you do get what you pay for. So be very careful when kind of looking around. And there are some guitar-shaped objects out there that may look like a guitar, but they don't play like one. You want to find a guitar that is tunable and feels good in your hands. There are some great instruments that you can get without breaking the bank. Like here, for instance, today I am holding, this is a Fender Dreadnought acoustic, and it's not overly expensive, but this is a good quality instrument. It has die-cast tuners. Also, another thing that you can look out for when you're looking for a guitar, and be careful when you're looking at used instruments, is that you want to make sure it's in good working order, it's tunable, and make sure that the neck isn't bowed or warped, and also the bridge isn't bowed or warped. You want to make sure that the action is very comfortable. And what the action is really it's the distance between the strings and the fretboard. You want to make sure it's not too high, because when you're trying to play chords or notes, if the action is too high, it's going to be hard for you to press down your fingers. And when you're starting to learn how to play, you got to build those calluses and your finger strength. So you want to make sure the guitar is comfortable to play. Also, make sure it's not too big for you or too heavy. And a lot of times people may have a guitar that they want in mind, but they may go and it just doesn't feel right. So if you have a guitar that you have in mind that you would like to get, go down to your local music store, try it out, and try a few of them out and see if it feels right for you. Also, another thing I would recommend that you get is you want to get yourself a good case for your guitar if you plan on taking it anywhere outside your house. I mean, you're investing some money, so you want to make sure your instrument doesn't get beat up. There are a lot of different options to choose from. Some people may have a pretty good budget to work with, but make sure you get a good quality instrument. I do recommend you go to your local music store, try out a few, have some of the people maybe recommend and show you some different options. Okay, now if you decide to go with an electric, there are a lot of different options as well. Here I have this is a Squier Stratocaster. It's made by the Fender company. You can see it's got a beautiful finish. It's not a real expensive guitar. This particular guitar retails for about $400. Now sometimes if you get some of these starter electric guitars, they may come with a kit that may have a gig bag, and another thing that you will need to have if you have electric guitars, you got to have an amplifier to play with. Now there are a lot of different options. They come in all kinds of different sizes and price ranges. You can get yourself a decent amplifier for not a lot of money. But there again, amplifiers range all over the place. There are name brands, there are what they call boutique brands, and all kinds of different wattages as well. So lots to choose from, and that'll give you an idea of some of the things that you may want to take into consideration when picking out your guitar. Okay, let's talk about our guitars and our parts of our guitars. Today I'm going to start off with an acoustic guitar. Now this acoustic guitar also happens to be an electric, but we're going to get into that here in a moment. Now the parts of our guitar, for acoustic and electrics, they're pretty much named the same thing. This part here at the top is called our head, or our headstock. You're going to notice that they come in all kinds of different shapes and sizes, but they all pretty much have the same function. The guitars we're going to be talking about in this course are all 6-string guitars, but you probably noticed that there's 12-string guitars, and you'll probably see that 4-string guitars, which are more commonly referred to as bass guitars, which have a lot lower notes. So we have our tuners. I'm sure you've figured that out by now. We have 6 strings coming over here. This little part here coming off of the headstock, this is called a nut, where our strings are going to bridge over that, come down this area. This part here of our guitar is called a neck. Now, the front part of our neck of our guitar, you'll see we have this area here. This is called a fingerboard, or it is also referred to as a fretboard, because you're going to notice that we have these rectangled areas that go up the neck, and these are called frets. So we come down here and it ends up to the body of the guitar. The top part of our acoustic guitars here, this is called a soundboard. Now, on our acoustic guitars, we have a hole right here, and that is called the sound hole. Now, there's some acoustic guitars that will maybe have different shaped sound holes, or maybe some smaller sound holes off the side of the guitar, but more commonly, it's right here in the center of the guitar. Now, below the sound hole, and it's hard to tell on this guitar because this guitar is black, but there is this black plastic piece, and this is called a pick guard, or a scratch plate, because when you're strumming your guitar, sometimes you can scratch your guitar. Now, I do have some guitars that don't have that as well, and they do get scratched up. So this kind of helps protect your guitar a little bit. So the strings come down over here and end at this portion of our guitar, and this is called the bridge. Now, how an acoustic guitar works is acoustics are the physics of sound. So the string vibrates and goes into the sound hole and goes into the body of the guitar, bounces around inside there, and projects out the sound hole. Uses the science of sound called acoustics, and that's why they're called an acoustic guitar. Okay, now I have an electric guitar, and the parts of it are pretty much called the same thing as the acoustic guitar. You're going to notice that the headstock on this particular model is a lot different than what we had on the acoustic guitar, and you're going to notice all the tuners are on one side of the headstock. They function the same way, it's just design. And this particular model of electric guitar is referred to as a Stratocaster, or for short we call them Strats. This particular guitar was made by the Fender company. They were the actual inventor of the Stratocaster, but you're going to notice that there is a lot of other brands out there that make a very similar model and function of electric guitar. So once again, we have the head, or the headstock, the nut. Coming down, we have the neck of the guitar, we have the fretboard. One of the things I did want to point out to you, that on our fretboard, we have dots. Some guitars may have squares or dots or other kind of designs. every so often on the frets, and these are position markers. Now, later on when you get more advanced in your guitar playing, those are going to come in handy because they're going to show you the different positions that you can play chords and scales at, and they serve as sort of landmarks on our guitar. But for this course, we're going to be concentrating pretty much in this first 3 fret area, which is referred to as the first position. So moving on, we have the body of the guitar. Now this body of this electric guitar is solid. It's a solid piece of wood. Now our acoustics are hollow, so the sound can bounce around inside the guitar and project out the sound hole. Now not all electric guitars are solid. There's quite a few models out there that are hollow, and they're really used for a lot of jazz playing. Also, a lot of rock as well. It gives you, and blues. It gives you a little bit more sustain with a hollow guitar, but the solid body is very commonly used electric guitar format. Now, coming down here, you're going to notice here at the end of our strings, we have a bridge, and the bridge on an electric guitar more commonly is metal. And it helps supply a lot more sustain on our strings. Now, this particular model has a handle that is attached to the bridge of the guitar, and its function, it's called a whammy bar. And what it does is you can bend notes and chords and also add vibrato to it as well. They're a lot of fun. Now, acoustic and electric guitars, the notes, the chords are all the same. If you can play an acoustic guitar, you can play an electric guitar and vice versa. They just use 2 different principles of science on how they produce sound. Now, you see on the front part of this guitar, we have these things. These are called pickups, and that is what their function is. They pick up the vibration of the string and turn it into basically an electrical impulse. What these are magnets, and the magnet picks up the vibration of the string, turns it into an electrical impulse, goes through the wires and circuitry of the guitar, through the cord into the speaker, which we call an amplifier. Now the amplifier inside of it has a paper cone, a speaker, that has a magnet attached to it as well. So what happens is the electrical impulse picks up from this magnet, goes through the cord, and vibrates the other magnet. Now the more power that you give it, the more the magnet vibrates and shakes the paper cone, and that's how an amplifier works. And you'll need to have one of those if you're playing electric guitar, or you're really not going to be able to hear what you're playing. Now, this particular model of electric guitar, we have these knobs, and this particular one has 1 volume knob and 2 tone controls. There are some electric guitars that have 2 separate volume knobs and 2 control knobs, or tone control knobs. Now, the volume knob does exactly what it says it does. I can turn that down, it turns down the volume, and turn it up, and it turns up the volume. You can control your volume if you want more or less of it by just your control knob instead of having to go over to your amplifier. Now, these knobs here are tone controls, and what they do is they shape the tone of what the certain pickups supply tone to, and you can control whether you get more of a darker tone or a brighter tone by just working with your tone controls. Now here we have a switch, and this is called a pickup selector. And what it does is, if I have my switch all the way up in the up position, it turns on this pickup, which we refer to as the neck pickup. Now a neck pickup has sort of a darker, mellower sound. It's really good for playing rhythm guitar and more cleaner tones. Now If I select it to the next section, it makes a combination of the bridge, I'm sorry, the neck pickup and the middle pickup. So it brightens it up. Now in the middle here, it is a combination of, it depends on how your guitar is wired. Some guitars will have it the bridge or the neck and the bridge pickup at the same time, or some have all three. So you get more of a fuller sound. You're getting the darker sounds of the neck pickup, and you're getting brighter tones of the bridge pickup. The next position, it's a combination of the middle pickup and the bridge pickup, and you're noticing as the pickups go toward the bridge, they're getting brighter and brighter. And all the way down, I have the bridge pickup. The bridge pickup is good for playing a lot of lead guitar kind of things, or if you're looking for some really bright sounds in your rhythm playing. So that is how an electric guitar works. Now, the physics of a guitar here, you notice that, I'm sure by messing with your guitars, you've discovered that as you're going up the neck, the notes get higher. And as you go down the neck toward the headstock, the notes get lower. And what we have is our nut and our bridge. We have a point A and point B. The string vibrates at a certain frequency, and that is the note. And as we go up the frets, we shorten the distance between A and B, and the note or the string will vibrate faster and faster. And that is a real quick physics lesson on how the notes work on a guitar. So that's the parts of our guitar, the difference between acoustics and electrics. And next we're going to start by learning how to tune our guitars. Okay, one of the first things we need to talk about is how to properly hold our guitar. Now, you want to sit it on your lap, just kind of on one leg. You might be comfortable for you to sit it on this leg. I like to sit it over here. I get a nice position, and it's comfortable for my arm and my wrist this way. So I sit it on my leg right here. You want to keep your guitar kind of nice and parallel. You don't want to lay it flat kind of like that, because you're not going to have a good position when you're trying to play chords. You want to keep it nice and parallel, and that way you can have a nice angle on your fingers and get the best sound from your chords. If you don't have the guitar setting right, also can create some pain in your hands and wrists, and that wouldn't be good. Another thing I want to talk about is picks. The proper name for them is a plectrum, but most commonly referred to as a guitar pick. You're going to notice they come in all shapes and sizes. And I do highly recommend that you go down to your local music store and pick out several. They're all kinds of different shapes, sizes, colors, thicknesses, and try some out and see which ones you like. Every guitar player sort of has the pick that they like. I like one that has kind of a grip. I use kind of a medium pick. There's some that are heavy. You're going to find that the heavier picks, you're not going to, when you're strumming, they're going to be a little louder. Thin picks will have a little bit more of a softer sound. I like something medium. Has a little bend to it. But you just, you're going to hold it between your first finger and your thumb, and just kind of grip it like that. I don't use a lot of pick. You just want to use a little bit of the tip, like that. You don't want to use too much pick, because that doesn't sound very good. So just practice using just the tip of your pick, just a little bit. And as you progress in your playing, you'll become more comfortable with that. Okay, now let's tune our guitars. I'm going to talk to you about electronic tuners. If you don't have an electronic tuner yet, please consider getting one. These are going to be very handy when you're tuning up your guitar to be most accurate. There's a couple different kinds. There's actually several different kinds of tuners and all kinds of different shapes and sizes and price ranges. These two are fairly inexpensive and they work in two different ways. Now this one here is a standard electronic tuner, and it functions in a couple different ways. It does have a built-in microphone here in the front, so if you're playing an acoustic guitar, it'll pick up the sound of your guitar. Also on the side here, if you have an electric guitar, you can plug your electric directly into the tuner and tune it up that way. So it can either work by sound or direct into that. Now these are some of the newest tuners on the market, and this particular one here, there's several different kinds of brands. This one works on vibration of your guitar, and they're very accurate, fairly inexpensive, and it's starting to become a standard out there. A lot of people are using these little clip-on tuners, and what you do is you just clip the tuner onto your headstock. You start to tune your strings. It picks up the vibration of the string and reads the note. It's really handy if you got a lot of background noise. It won't interfere with the note that you're tuning to. On these tuners, if you are trying to tune your acoustic and you're just going through the microphone, if you have background noise, if you have TVs going on, your dog's barking, kids yelling, whatever you have, there's going to be a lot of interference going on your tuner. Another thing on the tuner, it will show whether your note is flat or sharp or if you're in tune. And we're going to walk through that here in just a moment. I'm going to use the little clip-on tuner, and we'll tune our strings and just kind of walk you through it, and you can see how it's done. And I do recommend that you get yourself an electronic tuner if you don't already have them. Some of you may have gotten a guitar kit that comes equipped with one, but if you don't have one, please go down to your local music store and purchase one. Okay, the next thing we're going to need to talk about is how to tune our guitars. It's very important because you want yourself to sound good as you're playing your notes and chords. And one of the first things we need to learn is what the names of our strings are. Our strings in standard tuning are named to the notes that they are tuned to. Now, starting here with our low string, and I say low string because it's the deepest one. This one is our E. That's our E string. Next up, we have our A string. This is A. Then we have our D. Next, here in the middle, we have our G. This is our G. Then we have our B. And then, last but not least, we have our E. It's a high E. So we have two E's. We have a low E and a high E. Once again, I'll go through that. It's E, A, D, G, B, and E. I have a saying that I tell all my students, and this really helps them memorize what the names of their strings are. The saying goes, Ed ate dynamite, goodbye, Ed. So if you remember that silly little saying, you'll always know what the names of your strings are. Ed ate dynamite, goodbye, Ed. E, A, D, G, B, and E. And that's what the names of our strings are. We'll need to know that because next we're going to talk about tuning, and we need to know what the names of our notes are so we can tune it to the right note. Okay, now we're going to tune up together, and I'm going to demonstrate the vibration headstock tuner, and you can follow along with that. If you don't have a tuner of your own, you can tune up with me, and hopefully we will be relatively close to being the same in tune. So first of all, when I tune up, I always start with my low E. Now you're going to see that tuner, it says E in the middle, and you want to get it right at the middle of the tuner where it's green. It'll say E. Hang on a second. Let me adjust that a little bit. There we go. We're in tune. Now I move on to the A. It says I'm a little flat, so if I don't have the green and it's on this side of the arrow, means I probably need to tighten my string a little bit until I get it in the green. A little too much there. That's our A. Now we're going to move on to the D. That one says I'm a little sharp, so now I need to loosen my peg just a little bit. Just a little dab. A little dab will do you. It's right in the green, it says D. I'm good to go. Next we move on to the G. That one looks right on the money. Let me play that again. That's the G. Next, let's move on to the B. It says I'm a little sharp. I'm going to loosen that a little bit. And that's the B. Next, let's move on to the high E. Oh, it says I'm a little sharp. Let me bring it back a little bit. Sometimes if you're a little sharp, you might want to bring it down under where it's flat and then come back up on it. Okay, I'm right in the green. Okay, I'm in tune. Are you in tune? Alright. So that is tuning up our guitar. One more time, I'm going to go just really quickly through the strings so you can check your tuning as well. We'll go back to the low E. Now we're going to go to A. Then to D. Now we go to G. Okay, now the next segment we're going to talk about is starting to play chords. One of the things that we need to understand is how a chord grid works, or a chord graph. Now, as you can see, there are vertical lines and horizontal lines. And let me demonstrate how those work. That grid, what it is like your guitar sort of standing up in front of you. You're going to see these vertical lines, these are your guitar strings. And the horizontal areas are your frets. Now, another thing we need to understand is there are going to be dots on there, and those are our finger positions. Now, our fingers are going to be numbered. 1 is our index finger, our pointer finger. 2 is our middle finger. 3 is going to be our ring finger, and 4 is our pinky. So it goes 1, 2, 3, and 4. You're going to see those numbers on your chord graphs, and that's going to be the finger that you used to put down on the string and the fret. Now we're going to begin learning an easy form chord. The first chord we're going to talk about is the easy form G. And why I call it an easy form, because really we're just using one finger for that. Then later on we're going to learn the full G chord, but for right now, since we're just starting out, we're going to just start with some one finger chords and then build up from there. The first one we're talking about is the easy form G. We're going to use just our third finger. We're going to put that on the first string. And when I say first string, we're counting our strings from the high E down. So our first string is going to be our high E. It's going to go 1, first string, second string, third string, fourth string, fifth string, and sixth string is our low E. So our first string being the high E, third finger, third fret, and you want to make sure you get that right on the tip of your finger. You want to your finger standing up pretty straight. You don't want to lay it back like that. And also make sure your finger is not on the fret wire because it'll buzz. You want to have it kind of right before it. Now I have my finger up pretty straight, so you, like soldiers at attention, you want to get your finger right there. And I have my thumb comfortably positioned on the back part of my neck so I can have a good arch on my finger, so it's not accidentally touching the next string underneath. You don't want that because that'll affect the tone of the chord, and it deadens out an important note to have in that chord. Now for the easy form G, we're just going to play the top 4 strings. So starting with my open D, I'm just pressing my third finger down on the third fret and strumming down. Once again. One more time. And that is the easy form G chord. Guess what? You're playing guitar. Okay, now what we're going to do is some strumming exercises using our EZ G form. And one thing I need to cover first is we need to talk about some rests. And I know we were saying that we were not going to do a lot of music theory, but these are an important part of these exercises, so I'm going to go over these with you right now, just briefly. The first rest we're going to talk about is the whole rest. The whole rest receives 4 counts. So instead of playing, we rest for 4 counts. So to demonstrate, I would like strum and then rest 1, 2, 3, 4. That's called a whole rest. Next, we have the half rest. And the half rest gets 2 counts. So instead of playing, we would rest for 2 counts. So it would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. Like that. for an example. You're going to notice there's some similarities between the whole rest and the half rest. One goes one direction, one goes the other. I tell my students, here's kind of how you can picture the difference. Imagine the whole rest and the half rest are like hats sitting on a table. The whole rest, the hat is flipped upside down so you see the hole at the top of the hat. I know it's spelled differently, but you get the idea. Next, I'm going to talk about the quarter rest. You're going to notice the quarter rest sort of looks like a lightning bolt. The quarter rest gets only one count, so you would rest for one beat. One more thing I'd like to cover before we move on to the exercises is the strum. Now you're going to see a slash like this. That indicates a down strum. So that would be just strumming down, starting from your low strings, going to your high strings, just strumming down that way. Okay, I think we're ready to begin the exercise. Okay, next up we're going to work on a strumming exercise using our EZ G form. Now, on this exercise, you'll notice that we have our down strums and our whole rests. You're also going to notice on this line there are some vertical lines dividing up the lines. Those are called measures. So in these exercises, each one of those segments, which we call measures, get 4 counts. So on this exercise, I'm playing my EZ G form, and I'm just going to demonstrate and just kind of watch what I do. So here's how it works. It goes 1, 2, 3, 4. Rest, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Rest, 2, 3, 4. All right, let's try it together. I'm going to give us a 4 count, and we're just going to take our time. And are you ready? 1, 2, 3, 4. Strum, 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 strum. Rest, 2, 3, 4. Strum, 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 strum. Rest, 2, 3, 4. All right, good job. Let's try it one more time together. I'll give us a 4 count. 1, 2, 3, 4. Strum, 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 strum. Rest, 2, 3, 4. Strum, 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 strum. Rest, 2, 3, 4. All right, good job. Now, work on this on your own for a little bit. Take your time with it. When you feel comfortable with the strumming exercise, move on to the next one. We'll see you there. Okay, this next exercise, we're going to still use the EZ G form. And once again, it is with our 3rd finger on the 3rd fret on the 1st string, just strumming those top 4 strings. Now on this exercise, we're introducing the half rest. So remember that half rest gets 2 counts. I'm going to play through this and just kind of watch what I do, and then we'll play it together. So it goes strum, 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 rest, rest, strum, 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 rest, rest. All right, let's try it together. I'm going to give us a 4 count. 1, 2, 3, 4. Strum, 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 rest, rest, strum, 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 rest, rest. All right, let's do it one more time together. I'll give us a 4 count. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, good job. Take your time with this, work on this on your own, and then we'll move on to exercise number 3. Okay, here we are at exercise number 3. We're still using the EZ Form G. Now this one we are introducing the quarter rest. The quarter rest gets 1 count. And I will play through this and demonstrate it. Watch what I do, and then we'll play it together. So we have strum, 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 rest, strum, 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 rest. All right, let's try it together. I'll give us a 4 count to start off. 1, 2, 3, 4. Strum, 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 rest. Strum, 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 rest. All right, very good. Let's do it one more time together. I'll give us a 4 count. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, good job. All right, now you're on your own. Work on this for a little bit, and once you're comfortable, move on to exercise number 4. Okay, it's time to learn another chord now. We have the EZ Form C chord. The EZ Form C chord is just taking our first finger and putting it on the first fret on our 2nd string. And we're just going to play the top 3 strings. These 3 strings right here. That is our EZ Form C chord. Now be careful with your finger that it doesn't accidentally touch the high E string underneath. You want to keep it pretty straight up, because if you tend to bring it down, you're going to mute that open string, and you don't want that. You want to keep it straight up like a soldier at attention, as they used to say. So the EZ Form C chord is played like that. Okay, it's time for exercise number 4. This time we're using the EZ Form C chord, and you're going to notice that we have some half rests in there. So we're going to be strumming with some half rests. I'll play through it, watch what I do, and then we will play it together. So I'm going to start off with giving myself a 4 count. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and I strum, 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 rest, rest, strum, 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 rest, rest. All right, let's play it together. You ready? I'm going to give us a 4 count. EZ Form C chord. 1, 2, 3, 4. Strum, 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 rest, rest. Strum, 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 rest, rest. Another thing I do want to mention on this is I didn't mention on the exercises before, but when you do rest, it's nice to take your hand and just kind of put it on the strings and dampen the strings so they don't vibrate out, so you get a good silent rest. So let's try exercise number 4 one more time together. 1, 2, 3, 4. Strum, 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 strum. Rest, rest. Strum, 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 strum. Rest, rest. All right, try it on your own. Work on it, and when you feel comfortable, let's move on to exercise number 5. All right, here we are at exercise number 5, playing the easy Form C chord. I'm going to walk through this. You're going to see that we have some quarter rests on this one. I'll walk through this, watch what I do. You guys know the drill now, so here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Rest. Rest. All right, let's try it together. I'm going to give us a 4 count. You ready? 1, 2, 3, 4. Rest. Rest. All right, here we go. Let's try it one more time together. Give us a 4 count. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, it's time for another chord. This one we're going to talk about is the EZ Form G7 chord. Now we're going to take our first finger and we're going to put that on the first string, first fret. Now for the EZ Form G7, we can play our top 4 strings. You want to make sure that also with your finger that you're not touching the fret wire. You want to be right kind of before that fret wire there. Press down nice and firmly so you're getting a tone off your note. So the EZ Form G7 is just our first finger on the first fret on the first string. Okay, here we are at exercise number 6. This time we are playing the EZ Form G7 chord, and I'm going to walk us through this one. And this one we got quarter rests on, so it is going to go like this: strum, 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 rest, strum, 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 strum. Strum, 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 rest. All right, let's try it together. I'm going to give us a 4 count. We're playing the EZ Form G7 chord this time. You guys ready? Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. Rest. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, rest. Okay, great. Let's try it one more time together. Here's the 4 count. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, rest. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, rest. All right, excellent. Work on that on your own, and when you're comfortable with that G7, Let's move on to the next exercise. Coming up is exercise number 7. Okay, here we are at exercise number 7. Now, in exercise number 7, you're going to see that we are going to go from the EZ Form C chord to the EZ Form G7 chord. So we're starting to change chords now. Now, in this one, I start off with my EZ C chord, and I'm going to go strum, 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 rest, and as I'm resting, I'm going to move my first finger down to the first string to play that EZ Form G7 chord. Then I'm going to go strum, 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 rest, and then as I'm resting, I'm moving to back to the C chord. 1, 2, 3, rest, and back to the G7 again. 1, 2, 3, rest. Okay, I'm going to walk through it one more time, and then we're going to do it together. So it's going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, rest. G7. 1, 2, 3, rest. Back to C. 1, 2, 3, rest. 1, 2, 3, rest. Okay, one more time. Here we go. We give us 4 count. 1, 2, 3, 4. Strum, 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 change, strum, 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 change, strum, 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 change, strum, 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 rest. All right, that's exercise number 7. Now we're starting to learn to change from chord to chord. Work on that, take your time, and get comfortable with it before you move on to exercise number 8. Okay, here we are, exercise number 8. We're going to use the EZ Form C chord and the EZ Form G7 chord, practicing going from chord to chord. You're going to notice on exercise number 8, we start off strumming the C for 4 strums, the G7 for 4 strums. Then we're going to have a measure where we're going to have the C for 2 strums, the G7 for 2 strums, then ending on our C chord for 4 strums. So I'm going to demonstrate this. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, this one's going to take you a little bit of practicing. I want you to work on this till you're not stopping between chord changes. One thing you can think of is when you're going from chord to chord, like for this first measure, I'm playing the C chord, and it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4. On the fourth beat, you would say and before you get to 1. On the and, you start to make your change. So let's try this together. I'm going to give us a 4 count, and this is going to go like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. Strum, 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 and 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, let's try it together one more time. I'll give us a 4 count. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Strum, 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 and 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4. Excellent job. Work on those exercises before we move on to the next chord. Okay, one of the things I'd like to talk to you about now is a metronome. This is a handy little tool for when you're practicing strumming your chord exercises. It sets a beat for you. Now there's different kinds of metronomes. This is a relatively inexpensive one. I've had this for a number of years. They also have some really cool apps for smartphones that have metronomes on them as well, which are really cool. I do highly advise for you to get some sort of metronome to work with on your own practicing. Set it at a slow pace and get kind of used to working with strumming along with that. I'm going to set something here. On here it gives you beats per minute, and you can set it to a slow tempo when you're going through some of your strumming things. That way you're just kind of used to something helping you keep the beat and keep a rhythm. And then gradually you can increase the speed as you progress in your strumming exercises. So metronome, you can get these at your friendly neighborhood music store. You can also get these on Amazon and at your app store for your smartphones. So get yourself a metronome to work with. Okay, here we are. We're at the end of the course. It went pretty fast, didn't it? Now I invite you to join my course, Introduction to Guitar. In this course, you will do some review about what we have already talked about so far, or you're welcome to jump ahead to the full chords. This course, you will learn how to play the major, minor, as well as the dominant 7 chords. You're also going to learn how to read tablature, and by the end of the course, you'll be able to play some 12-bar blues. This course has over 60 video examples and printable PDFs for you to practice with. It'll also have some jam tracks for you to play along with. So, as you can see, the journey is just beginning. There's so much more to learn. So, we'll see you there.
Hi guys, my name's Andy and welcome to the first video in this series of strumming guitar videos. In this video we're going to be covering basic on the beat strumming and also, really importantly, how to play along to the record with absolutely any song that you would ever want to play along to. We're going to cover the basics and I'm going to give you song examples, and also we have a drum track that you guys can practice playing along to with what I show you in this video, so that you can practice the exercises that I have for you. So first of all, to understand about strumming, we have to understand what a beat is, what are bars and beats. Some of this I have gone through before in other videos, but I just want to, as I say, cover the absolute basics to make sure you have a fundamental understanding of this. And even if you're maybe at a higher level where you can do some strumming, this video is going to be useful for you because of the extra things that we're going to be covering a little later on to make sure that you can get all the concepts that we're going to be doing throughout this beginner strumming course. So, what is a beat? Well, a beat is a pulse through the music, a regular pulse. And for example, if your favourite song comes on and you nod your head to it or you tap your foot to it, you're probably nodding your head to the beat. There doesn't have to be something playing on the beat for it to be there, but it runs throughout probably every song you have ever heard. Even if it feels like there's maybe no regular pulse, everything you can hear is probably to a count. And 99.9% of pop songs are to a count of 4. So if we have a regular pulse, we can put that to a count of 1, 2, 3, 4. And it is this count of 4 that we call a bar. Now, the simplest strumming pattern that we can do, whenever we're playing along to any song, is probably just one strum per chord. Really handy whenever you learn a new song to just strum each of the chords that are listed on your chord sheet once, just to get a feel for it. I'll be covering how to change between different chords in different videos. Here I'm just focusing on the strumming. But if we just, for this first video, the first 2 chords that are in my beginner's course are E and A. So we have our first E major chord, which should be the first chord that you've learned if you've taken lessons with me. And we're just going to strum this on beat 1 to start with, to a slow count, to my count, and then I'd like to practice this along to the drum track, and you can even practice it along to a real song, which is Buffalo Springfield, For What It's Worth, as I'm sure a few of you will know. You may have seen that video. But as I say, this course is going to kind of continue from that video, and we're just covering the basics here. So, as an example, we have 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Every beat 1 that happens, I'm strumming an E chord. And that would be written as a line, which is our bar line, an E, and then another bar line at the end. So we have line, E, line. That represents 1 bar of E. But all of these strumming patterns that we cover, we're only given them for 1 bar, and then we have to get the concept that these repeat for however many bars end up being in the song. And when we strum once per bar, these are called spreads. So this is a spread. 1, 2, 3, 4. A spread spreads throughout the whole bar is the way to think about it. Now, how do we hear straight away? Let's get us playing along to some real music rather than just along to me. How do we hear the beat in a song? Well, of course, as I've just said, if you're nodding your head to a song, then you're nodding your head on the beat, okay? It's more than likely. But it's not always as easy as that to hear it, especially when we're wanting to play along and we have distractions such as chord changes or you're wanting to funk up your strumming at all, okay? So what I have here is a really simple drum beat so that we can hear this in real music. And we have a 2-bar counting, which counts 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we have a simple drum beat, which basically is kick, snare, kick, snare. And this sounds like this. 2. So this is our counting. 1, 2, 3, 4. Kick, snare, kick, snare. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2. And as a song example that this drum beat would happen in, I always think of Back in Black. Something to nod your head to, you know. Okay? And those two sounds always, always, always happen on the same beats. I can't stop my drum kit here. There we go. So we have the kick drum starting the low note, the bass drum, on beat 1 and 3. 1, 3. A really low thud, which is called the bass drum. And then we have a snare sound, which is happening on beats 2 and 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And that always happens. Even if the drum kit gets more complex, those fundamentals still tend to be there. They maybe, you know, happen a little bit after the beat and a little bit before it, maybe with the kick drum. But the snare always happens on 2 and 4. And this is how you can hear the rhythm in a song, hear the beat, hear the count in a song. You need to listen to the drums. Even if the drums are really quiet, you're not going to hear the guitars likely if you're strumming away all loud. There's also a cymbal on this drum kit, this drum loop that I've provided for you guys. If you'd like to hear it, I'm going to leave a link in the top corner for you guys to click, or down in the description. It'll be on another YouTube video, so you can stay on YouTube and cover all these strumming videos. There'll also be a playlist of all these videos. But yes, first of all, there'll be a cymbal every 2 bars. So we've got a count of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Cymbal. And that you can use just as a checkpoint, just to make sure you are actually strumming on the beat. So first of all, just take an E major chord. If you're a little bit more advanced, you could take a bar of E and a bar of A when you're practicing this in your own time, or any 2 or 4 chords that you want, really. But I do want you to get the concept that we want a short phrase, 2 chords, 1 chord, or maximum number of 4 chords, and then repeat them. Because if you're getting used to these chord changes and you're just going from any chord to any chord, it's not that useful, because real songs don't do that. Real songs repeat, and that's how they eat up time. It's how they make time seem to go faster when you listen to songs. That's why we listen to songs on car journeys and whatnot. So as an example, I'm just going to play an E chord on every bar. Just on beat 1 to start off with. 1, 2, 3, just an E chord. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. And if you're really confident, you can change from an E, 1, 2, 3, to an A, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, which some of you have done before in the Buffalo Springfield song. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1. Last time. 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And stop there. So that drum track lasts a couple of minutes, which is an exercise you need to be able to do. You need to be able to keep those chord changes going on beat 1 for a full 2 minutes. If you can't do that, then you can learn as many chords as you want, but you're not going to be able to play along to real songs, okay? So we need you to do this for every strumming pattern that you learn. We need to learn to repeat it. But let's make it a bit more interesting than that. Let's go straight for every beat. So every time you hear kick, snare, we want to be playing a down strum. Has to be down strums. We always have down strums on the beat as a rule with strumming. Doesn't matter what strumming pattern you're going for, how complex it may be, I can guarantee that down strums will be happening on the beat, okay? It's really, really rare that that doesn't happen. So let's have a demonstration of this. 2, 1, 2, 3, a bar of E, 1, 2, 3, and a bar of A, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. E, 2, 3, 4. A, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And end on the E. Pause there. Good. So if you could play along to me, great. Great stuff, okay? You're doing really well. This does not want to stop at all. If you're playing on to me, great. That's exactly what we're wanting to do. But keep practicing that skill, because it doesn't improve, as with all these skills of learning guitar or learning anything, it won't improve unless you work on it. And what we're listening out for is to get that one sound. We're trying to make sure that we're getting the sound of our strum at exactly the same time as the drum beats hit, as the kick and the snare. Now, if that was a little too quick for you, you need to make sure that you're playing just one strum per bar, but being really strict with yourself that you're playing on beat 1. And remember, when you come back to the E, or if you want to stay on the E a little bit more, you have that symbol on beat 1. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4 symbol to use as a checkpoint to make sure that you're on beat 1. But if nothing else, if you really are, you know, stuck and you're thinking, oh, these chords are a bit too much for me, or if you're kind of good at changing chords, but you're thinking, how do you tell? How do I know if I'm in time? Because I can't see you guys playing, okay? This is a one-way thing. You can, of course, freely send me videos. Check out the Facebook page, /Leeds Guitar Tutor for the Facebook. But how can you know yourself whether you are in time or not? This is how. We're going to go along to the drum beat again, but we're just going to mute our strings. With your left hand, we're going to put your hand flat over all your strings. We're not playing a chord, but don't press down to the wood. Just touch the strings very lightly. And we get this thud sound. About halfway down your guitar neck, down low. It will still sound fine. We just want this thud so we can hear what your right hand is doing, or just your strumming hand. And what we want to hear is one sound between this and your kick snare. So if we're hearing kick, snare, kick, snare, kick, snare, you're doing this right. If we hear two sounds, if you hear kick, snare, and they're out of sync, then you're a little bit behind or a little bit ahead. If you're a little bit ahead or behind, whichever it is, the best thing to do really is to just stop altogether and try and count in again. What we're encouraging the skill of here is joining into the music. So listening, predicting where that count is, and then joining in. Rather than kind of, the other way to do this is just play over the drum kit. So, or the song that you're going along to. You put it on, but actually you're there in your own little world, playing it whenever you like, okay? How do we tell? Everything happens at the same time, which is why we've got such a simple drum kit to play along to. So if I have listen again, just to demonstrate, your fail-safe method for any new strumming pattern, really handy, you know, if you're going for a harder strumming pattern, let's hear what this right hand's doing. Just mute your strings flat against, and remember, pressing on really light. If you're getting this sound, press on lighter. Simple as that. Make sure you're covering all the strings. So 2, 1, 2, 3, and we hear our kick. 2, 3, 4. And if you just listen to that sound, my hand and the beat happen at the same time. If I'm a little bit behind, it kind of straight away just sounds bad, but you hear, if you listen really carefully, you can hear two sounds. Listen. Purposefully out of time. And what would likely happen there is you'll just drift and drift and drift, and it won't sound good. So you need to be really strict. Maybe tap your foot as well. Tapping your left foot if you're a right-handed guitarist is really handy, because then your guitar's not bouncing up and down. So the opposite side, the knee that's not got your guitar on it. And we're just making sure that we can hear that one sound. And therefore, a really important point is to play in time and to keep good time yourself. You are not programming yourself to stay the same all the way through. We're actually not keeping a consistent tempo when we're playing along to a drum beat, when we're playing along to something else. When you're playing along to something else, we're actually speeding up and slowing down a little bit the whole time, and we're trying to stay within the good area, what we call the pocket of the song. So if you see a sound wave, there are spikes for every hit. So say this drum kit here would be like spike, spike, spike for kick, snare. And if you're in the area where it spikes, it sounds good, because we're not machines. We can't go 100 BPM, Andy, and just stay at that. And if I stay exactly the same, I'm going to drift a little later or be a little sooner. Of course, if I'm just practicing on myself, unaccompanied, I'm trying to keep the best time that I can. I'm trying to stay the same. But for this exercise, for playing along to something else, and this will be the same when you go do the same exercise along to Buffalo Springfield. For what it's worth, the first song in my beginner's course, which is just a bar of E or a bar of A, or any of the songs, any song you ever want to play along to, you've got to make sure that everything is happening at the same time. That kind of includes pressing down on your chord at the same time as your strum. If I'm strum 2, 3, 4, and then I change chord early before that beat, that's going to knock you out of time. Of course, for most people, when you're first learning, your chord hands are a little slow, maybe. But often, when we get better, when we practice this stuff, most people for the higher level strumming patterns are actually ahead. They're ahead of the beat. They're too fast. Imagine being able to play guitar too fast, right? That'd be nuts. But it happens within a few weeks. People get the hang of this, and then they're racing ahead. Every song some people learn, they learn it way too fast. You know, people go for Wonderwall, and they're way ahead. You know, everything's rushed, and therefore the changes are sloppy. But if you can play along to the record with near as damn to every song that you ever learn, it eradicates that and gives you good time, and it means that you'll be able to play along to anyone else as well. It's the best practice for jamming with other people, which must be something that at least some of you want to do at some point. The best practice for that is playing along to the record. And when people have been taking and learning online like you guys for YouTube videos, but haven't had guitar lessons, and people, you know, private students come to me and say, you know, I just feel like something's missing. I can play a few riffs, but they never sound finished. They never sound right. I can't play a whole song all the way through. It's normally the fact that they haven't learnt the skill of playing along to the record that is holding them back from improving anymore. Now, just one final thing. We're near the end of the video now, and we'll be getting some higher level strumming patterns in this playlist of videos that I'll make, and they'll be on my website at andyguitar.co.uk, along with a full layout of all these strumming patterns, really easy to find. But one last thing, when you're playing along to the record, you cannot join in straight away as soon as you hear the first chord, because as soon as you've pressed play, the song started. So whatever the first chord in your song is, it's gone. Here we have to bear in mind that pop music repeats. Any guitar riffs are going to repeat. And we don't play the first repetition of it. We don't play the first time it happens. We play the second time it happens. We play from the repetition. So if you've got a chord sequence of E, 2, 3, 4, A, 2, 3, 4, and it just repeats from there, the first sound you hear in the song will be the E chord. And then the second sound you hear in the song will be the A chord. So you join in from the next E, which you can tell when that happens because you can now hear the beat in a song because you're listening to the drums. You can hear the pulse, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And if it's a 2-bar chord sequence, that's where you would join in. So yeah, thanks for checking out this video. So straight away, the first thing you want to do is get right over there, click this link to the drum track for this level 1 strumming, just hearing the beat. If you think you've got it, if you think you've mastered it, get straight on to level 2, where we'll be talking about the offbeat, which are the ands in between the count. So we can play 1 and 2 and, which is the gateway to all your higher level strumming. But also bear in mind that any song you ever learn can be simplified down to just playing on the beat.